Chapter 1. The Target. Lincoln Hayes sat in the back of his high school classroom, his head slightly tilted as he sketched idly in his notebook. He was a quiet kid, always had been. Kept to himself, stayed out of trouble, and avoided unnecessary attention. Some mistook his silence for weakness, but Lincoln had never cared much about what people thought. He had been at Crestwood High for a little over a year, a transfer student from Chicago. The move had been rough, but he was used to adapting. What no one at Crestwood knew, what he wanted to keep hidden, was that Lincoln was a martial arts prodigy. Raised in a family of fighters, he had trained in multiple disciplines from childhood: Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, karate, and even a little Wing Chun. His grandfather, a retired Marine and former dojo master, had drilled discipline into him from a young age. But Lincoln didn't fight anymore, not after what happened back home. Chapter 2. The Bullies. Crestwood had its fair share of high school cliques, but none were as feared as Ryan Calloway's crew. Ryan, the rich kid with a bad attitude, was the self-proclaimed king of the school. He and his friends, Shane, Brandon, and Tyler, loved picking easy targets, weak kids, outsiders, and to them Lincoln was the perfect mark. "Yo, quiet boy," Ryan smirked, slamming his hand on Lincoln's desk one afternoon. "What's with all the drawings? You gonna be a little artist or something?" Lincoln didn't look up. He just kept sketching. Ryan's smirk faded. He wasn't used to being ignored. "I'm talking to you, freak." The class had gone silent. Students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Lincoln sighed, finally closing his notebook. "What do you want, Ryan?" he asked, his voice calm. Ryan glanced back at his boys before leaning in closer. "I want you to stop acting like you're too good to talk to people. You walk around here like some kind of ghost. I think you need a wake-up call." Lincoln met Ryan's gaze. "I think you should leave me alone." Ryan laughed, shaking his head. "That sounds like a challenge, man." Lincoln's eyes darkened. "It's not." But Ryan had already made up his mind. Chapter 3. The Setup. Ryan and his crew weren't just bullies. They were calculated. After school, they started spreading rumors that Lincoln had been talking trash behind Ryan's back. The news spread fast, and by the next day, everyone expected a fight. Ryan planned it perfectly. His crew waited until after school, cornering Lincoln in the back parking lot. A small crowd gathered, eager to see what they assumed would be another one-sided beatdown. Ryan cracked his knuckles, stepping forward. "Looks like you don't have anywhere to run now." Lincoln exhaled. He hated this. He had promised himself he wouldn't fight, but they weren't going to let him walk away. Ryan swung first, an arrogant, telegraphed punch aimed at Lincoln's head. In a blur, Lincoln's body moved on instinct. He slipped the punch effortlessly, his right hand snapping forward to redirect. Ryan's momentum. The bully stumbled, barely keeping his balance. The crowd gasped. Ryan growled in frustration and swung again. Lincoln sidestepped smoothly, his foot sweeping out in a lightning-fast motion. Ryan's legs buckled and he crashed to the ground. Silence. Shane and Brandon rushed in at the same time. Lincoln's hands shot out. Trap, redirect, neutralize. He caught Shane's wrist and twisted, forcing him down with a painful joint lock. Brandon barely had time to react before Lincoln's knee struck his stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Tyler hesitated, looking between his fallen friends and Lincoln. Lincoln's stance was effortless, his breathing steady. "Go home," he said simply. Tyler turned and ran. Chapter 4. The Aftermath. The video of the fight spread like wildfire. By the next morning, Lincoln wasn't just the quiet kid anymore. He was a legend. But he didn't care about that. He still kept to himself, still focused on his sketches, still avoided trouble. Ryan never bothered him again, and as far as Lincoln was concerned, the past could stay buried. For now. The silent storm, Westbrook High had its usual cliques, the jocks, the nerds, the drama kids, but among them one student stood apart, not because he was loud, but because he was silent. His name was Elijah Wu. He sat at the back of the classroom, always wearing black hoodies, earphones in, eyes cast downward. No one knew much about him. And in high school, being different meant being a target. For years, Elijah had been the subject of teasing, the whispers behind his back, the occasional shoulder check in the hallway. But he never reacted. He never fought back. This made some people think he was weak. The bully and his crew, Tyler Grayson, was the king of the school, a 6'2" football star with an ego the size of Texas. His crew of followers laughed at every joke he made, especially when it was at someone else's expense. And lately, Elijah had become his favorite target. "He doesn't talk, he doesn't fight back," Tyler sneered one afternoon. "Dude's like a punching bag." "Bet we could get him to snap," one of his friends laughed. "Bet he won't," Tyler said. "Let's find out." The plan was simple. Humiliate Elijah in front of everyone. After school, in the courtyard, when the most students were around. The setup. That Friday, as students poured out of their classrooms, Tyler and his crew found Elijah at his locker. Tyler strutted up, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Hey, Wu," he called. Elijah didn't respond. He just kept putting books into his backpack. "Yo, I'm talking to you," Tyler said, stepping closer. "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue?" Elijah sighed and turned, eyes calm but uninterested. "Man, you always act like you're better than everyone," Tyler said, grinning as he shoved Elijah's backpack off his shoulder. It hit the ground with a dull thud. Oops. A few students stopped to watch. This was it, the moment they would finally get a reaction out of the quiet kid. Elijah simply bent down, picked up his bag, and slung it over his shoulder. "Move," he said, his voice quiet but firm. Tyler smirked. Or what? Elijah didn't answer. He tried to step around him, but Tyler grabbed his hoodie. That was his first mistake. The storm unleashed. Elijah's body moved in a blur. Before Tyler could react, his grip was broken, his wrist twisted at an unnatural angle. A sharp snap filled the air, not of a bone, but of Tyler's confidence shattering. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Elijah didn't stop. He pivoted, shifting his weight, and delivered a lightning-fast kick to the side of Tyler's knee. The football star's leg buckled, his body hit the pavement hard. Tyler's friends lunged forward, but Elijah was already moving. The first guy threw a sloppy punch. Elijah sidestepped and countered with a palm strike to the ribs. The second tried to grab him, but Elijah flipped him over his shoulder with effortless grace. Within seconds, all three were sprawled on the ground, groaning. The courtyard was dead silent. Elijah exhaled slowly, adjusted his hoodie, and slung his bag back over his shoulder. He looked down at Tyler, who was gasping for air, eyes wide with shock. "If you touch me again," Elijah said, his voice quiet but deadly, "you won't get back up." Then, without another word, he walked away. The aftermath. The news spread like wildfire. The quiet kid, the Elijah Wu, was a martial arts master. Some said he was trained since childhood. Others claimed he could break bricks with his bare hands. But Elijah didn't care about the rumors. The next Monday he was back at his desk, earphones in, hoodie up, silent as ever. No one bothered him again, because now they all knew some storms don't make noise until it's too late.